definition of depression is a chemical imbalance in the brain. Sugar and wheat are the most responsible for a fuel imbalance, and you couple that with caffeine that is the most responsible for a chemical imbalance in the brain. A young friend of mine who used to have coffee every morning, he said to me, "I've discovered something that is more potent than coffee to get you moving in the morning." I said, "What's that?" He said, "A cold shower." And you don't get the corresponding dump. Where is caffeine found? It is found in your Red Bulls, your V drinks, your Mother, your energy drinks. It's found in your coffee, it's found in your tea, it's found in chocolate. Did you know that every year children get admitted to hospital with chocolate poisoning? That bit doesn't seem to reach the newspapers. I've had 3 registered nurses confirm that to me. Not every child gets admitted to hospital with chocolate poisoning that's eating chocolate. It would be the children with the weakened pancreases and the weakened adrenal glands. Why are they weak? It's not a stroke of luck or a stroke of genetics. Remember, genetics loads the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Even if we were born with some genetic flaws, and by the way, we all are, and we all know we are, you need never pull the trigger. It is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Mercury. Mercury is a neurotoxin. Neurotoxin means brain poison. So if you do go to a dentist and he tries to put mercury in your mouth, you have every right to say no thank you. And if he says why not, you can say it's a neurotoxin, and he said, but it's in such small amounts. The next answer you can give him, I love the one-liners, and you need one-liners at the dentist because your mouth's open. There's no safe dose of mercury. It's the 3rd most toxic metal on the planet. Why don't they have mercury thermometers in hospitals now? They've been banned. Why don't they have the cave anymore where you could go and walk on the pool of mercury? Because people would come out of there vomiting. People would come out of there with headaches. Mercury is found mostly today in fish and fillings. In the mercury fillings in the mouth, they can be between 40 and 60% mercury. And little by little by little, the mercury vapors come off. When they hit the bacteria in your mouth, it's converted to methyl mercury, which is methylated mercury. Methylated mercury can now be taken through the blood-brain barrier, through the placenta barrier. And when it gets through, it can kill that nerve cell, and it can also chew holes in the myelin sheath. Once that myelin sheath starts to get broken down, you've lost your nourishment, your conduction, your insulation, and your protection. And it's called multiple sclerosis. We have 3 books in our library by Dr. Hal Huggins. One book's called It's All in Your Head. And he shows the link between what's happening in your mouth, whether it be mercury fillings or root canal fillings, and the connection with disease in different parts of the body, because there is a connection to every tooth to different organs and places in the body. His second book is called Uninformed Consent, because a dentist does not have to tell you of the neurotoxicity of mercury before he puts it in your mouth. I've got a friend who's a chemist. He said a chemist isn't allowed to do that. A chemist has to tell you. So there are his 2 books. He said to a friend of his, "I will write a 3rd book if I can link 1,000 cases in my practice alone of mercury poisoning and multiple sclerosis. I have the book." It's called Solving the MS Mystery, and it is 1 inch thick. And he shows very clearly the link between multiple sclerosis and mercury. Not every person with mercury fillings in their mouth gets multiple sclerosis. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of us human beings. You see, there are different threads that come together to make us who we are. There's no safe dose of mercury. So if it is in your mouth, my suggestion is find a biological dentist and remove the mercury. Won't you get a blast? You get a little bit of a blast, but at least then it's gone. And little by little, if you're having a highly nourishing diet, which is lots of vegetables, some fruit, your proteins, legumes, healthy fats, little by little, the body can eliminate the mercury out of the tissues. Alcohol. Alcohol also is a neurotoxin. There's no safe dose of mercury and there is no safe dose of alcohol. Alcohol kills brain cells. It's the universal solvent. And when alcohol goes into the body, the membrane around every cell in the body begins to dissolve. And so very quickly the liver creates cholesterol. Remember the repairer and the rebuilder, and the cholesterol is sent to hold that cell together. And after 24 hours, this membrane is now too rigid because the effect of the alcohol isn't as strong as when the person first drank it. So then the cholesterol is sent away. And what's happening to the cholesterol reading on that body? The cholesterol levels are getting higher and higher. You have probably heard stories of this, of a young person having a dare at maybe a party to drink a whole bottle of scotch, and they die. They literally dissolve. The liver can't make the cholesterol quick enough to actually hold them all together. I had a girl doing our program and she said to me, it happened to my brother 18 months ago, he's 25. She said he drank the bottle of scotch at the party on Saturday night and by 10 o'clock the next morning he was dead. Have you heard of how Napoleon, no it wasn't Napoleon, it was Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, he was the last general who conquered all of Europe. Brilliant mind. When he finally conquered it, all his generals, all his armies went into a drunken orgy. And he went from party to party having the Herculean cup, which is quite a lot of alcohol. He died that night at the age of, I think he was 33, from alcohol poisoning. Very sad story. And that night his 2 infant sons were murdered and the generals took over. Very sad story. Alcohol. How many brilliant minds have been lost because of this? There's no safe dose of that one. Tobacco. It was considered a victory in the war if supply line to headquarters was bombed. And that's what tobacco does. Let me show you. Here is supply lines. It's the carotid artery that goes up into the brain. That's supply line. That artery is taking supplies up into the brain. It's taking the oxygen, it's taking the nutrition, the glucose, or the ketones maybe from the fats. What tobacco does is it bombs it. How does it do that? This is what the artery should look at. Nice and wide, thick walls, blood cells jumping around. Under the effect of tobacco, the arterial wall thins, it weakens, and it's very easy for a hole to be made in that wall. And so the liver creates the LDL cholesterol, remember your repairer and your rebuilder, and it plugs the hole. But the tobacco keeps coming. And so the holes keep coming. And so what's happening to the lining of the artery? It's getting narrow. And not only that, tobacco causes the blood cells to clump together. It's a major dehydrator. And then it's not long before a blockage can be made. That's a stroke. I think we all know that brain only goes 3 minutes without oxygen and the cells start to die. And this is the supply line to the headquarters. It's not a very happy looking one, is it? So many people will be suffering from that, especially when they are smoking. And so brain function diminishes. The amazing thing about the brain is it can diminish by even a half of the supply, and the brain can still be functioning quite well.